Is it time to get rid of the brain junk? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle. So if you want to learn how to lower your resting heart rate, lower your blood pressure while improving your pump at the gym, stick around. We'll talk about that later in today's episode, or just scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or simply head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. Either way, you'll see a little note pop up on your screen saying you're shopping with Brian Nichols. But let's dig into that. Is it time to eliminate some of that brain junk? Joining me to discuss all that and more is Dr. Noah St. John. Dr. Noah, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Great to be here with you.
Great to have you on the show. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. But before we jump head first into things, Dr. Noah, do us a favor, introduce yourself here to the Brian Nichols Show audience and tell us a little bit more about your story.
My name is Dr. Noah St. John. I'm known for helping people make more in 12 weeks than I did in the previous 12 months while winning back 1 to 3 hours per day and 4 to 8 weeks per year. So if you're somebody who wants to make more money while winning your life back, I'm your guy. That's what I've been doing for 30 years. I've helped my clients add over $3 billion collectively, meaning we've helped people add 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, and more. So I work with 7, 8, and 9-figure CEOs, celebrities, athletes, people from all walks of life, kids, teenagers, just people from all over the world, over 120 countries, and really having a lot of fun, really helping to help people win their lives back.
So you mentioned time, right? And that is the number one non-renewable resource that we all collectively have to experience in some way, shape, or form is time. And, it's funny, when I was talking about this with my wife the other day, when you're younger, you don't really, like, every year just feels like, oh my gosh, it's a slug, right? From one year to the next. And then as you get older, just proportionally, a year is less relative to your life. So it's like you blink and it's the next month, it's the next year. And That's one thing, though, in the business space as well, Dr. Noah. Like, you see where you say, okay, well, we'll do that next quarter, or we'll prepare, we'll start to outline that and have a release Q4, Q1, maybe next year, right? And all of a sudden that gets bumped back, and then that gets bumped back, and all of a sudden from where you were here in 2025 to it's Q1 2027. And we didn't get that executed, right? And I see this a lot when I would consult with sales teams. They'd have their projections, their goals for added pipeline, and there's always a reason. We're here. This is it's the end of the summer, right? People they're not adding to pipeline. Over here, this is the holidays. So it's like, okay, well, that those exist. Let's plan around it, right? It's little things. So I would just love to hear more from your perspective. What have you found to be kind of your secret sauce in helping salespeople, entrepreneurs be able to collectively find that non-renewable resource, time, and be able to not only get it back, but use it more efficiently?
Well, it really comes back to my freedom lifestyle formula that I talk about in my books. I've published 25 books now. You can go on my website, go on noahstjohn.com. You can learn more about my coaching, my programs, and my books. But one of the things that I am known for is teaching people my freedom lifestyle formula. And when you look at why people get into business, it really comes down to these 4 elements that I call a freedom lifestyle. The first one is what you just talked about, time, the element of time. It is the only non-renewable resource we have. All of Bill Gates' billions can't buy 1 minute of yesterday. So time is the one thing that we cannot get back. And that's why it's the most valuable resource, but it's also the one we waste the most of. Right? The number one habit that I help my clients overcome is procrastination. What is procrastination? It's putting off until tomorrow what you should have done 3 weeks ago. So we look at that element of time. We spend a lot of time on that. The next element is energy. Energy is how you go through your day, right? So time is how you spend your day, but energy is how you go through your day. We're talking about emotions. So in other words, there's 2 kinds of energy. There's positive and there's negative. we humans are magnets. And so I'm sure you've been around people who have that positive energy, like you, Brian, that great positive energy. And then, of course, you're around people that I like to call energy vampires. The minute they walk into a room, all the energy goes out of the room and they suck your energy. You want to avoid those people. And of course, you want to not be one of those people. So that's energy. Then we have relationships, right? Relationships are very, very important. If you don't believe me, who are you selling to? If you're in business, who are you selling your products and services to? Last time I checked, it's human beings. Because orangutans, dolphins, and whales do not have credit cards, even though they're great. And with a name like Noah, I should know. I hang around animals all the time. But sadly, they can't pay your bills. Gosh darn it. So we have to have good relationships. And then, of course, money. Money is very important, right? Money, last time I checked, is important if you want to live here on planet Earth. And for those who say, well, Noah, money doesn't buy happiness, I would say to them, I would quote the words of that great philosopher David Lee Roth, who said, money may not be able to buy happiness, but it can buy a yacht so you can pull right up next to it. So when you look at those four elements of time, energy, relationships, and money, everyone listening to this program right now, you can rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. How are you doing in these four elements: time, energy, relationships, and money? In other words, are you saying, well, gee, Noah, I have way too much to do and too little time? Then we need to get you some time back. If you're saying, man, Noah, I don't really have the energy that I want. Great. We got to work on that. Relationships. I don't have the relationships that I want. Look, there's a lot of lonely millionaires out there, people with lots of money, but they don't have the relationships that I want. And of course, money, we need to have that money. So you can really rate yourself from 1 to 10 on those very, very quickly. And then if you're scoring 25 or below, we really want to get you that help that you need, whether it's books, coaching, courses, whatever, but we have all those resources and more available to you.
So it sounds like one of the main areas that is, I would say it's very important to focus on is balance, right? Like, as you were talking through, there's a lot of different areas that you have to focus on in life. And it's so easy to overinvest in one area versus the other. And I see this a lot. Like I used to weigh 385 pounds. I was a really, really big guy. And when I started to lose weight, that was all I thought about. Right. It was laser focus on going to the gym, eating right. Like I would say no to going out on social engagements because I was so focused on the weight loss stuff. So what happened was 2 years of dramatic weight loss, but that was also 2 years of much more social isolation. I still talk to people, right? But like in terms of true connection, it started to wane because my priorities and my focus were really isolated in one silo, and all the other silos started to have issues there. So the balance piece seems like it's fundamental really across the board. In anybody's long-term success, you might be able to address one area and just crush it for a year, 2 years. But then as the other areas start to fizzle out, right, all of a sudden you pull back and you go, uh-oh. And now you're spending time trying to add to those different buckets. And the bucket you spent 2 years investing in, all of a sudden, all that progress is gone too.
Well, I love your example, Brian. That's a very, very powerful example because we've all heard the phrase birds of a feather flock together, right? We've all heard that.
Yeah.
And so what tends to happen is healthy people tend to be around healthy people. Rich people tend to be around rich people. Unhappy people tend to be around unhappy people. People who like to go out and get drunk on a Saturday night, hang out with people who like to get drunk on a Saturday night. I'm not putting down anybody or whatever. That I'm just saying that, for you, I bet that when you were going through that weight loss journey, I bet you had to let go of some of those relationships from the past that really weren't serving you in that healthy regard. Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So, when let's say you're focused on your business now, like maybe that's your focus for the next 12 months. Okay. So are the people around you, that goes back to that relationship bucket I was talking about a moment ago. Are those relationships really serving you? For example, many entrepreneurs know that being an entrepreneur can be a very lonely road because most of us were raised in the American way of life, which is you go to school, you get good grades, you go to college, you get a job, work 40 years, and then you retire, and then you can enjoy your life. And I remember being 25 years old. I was working in corporate America, and I'm like, who in the heck came up with this stupid idea? This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What is this? And I got good grades. I went to college, and I did everything right. I checked every box, and I was miserable. I'm like, what in the heck is going on around here? And I realized that this sucks. This isn't what I want for my life. I worked 40 years and then I can have fun when I'm too old to enjoy it. I thought that was the dumbest thing. So anyway, that's why I became an entrepreneur. It wasn't really by, I didn't grow up thinking, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. I'm like, I've never heard of this word before, but it really came to me because of frustration and pain. And like, I don't like this. So that's what a lot of people get into this really for interesting reasons. That was my reason, but so the point is you really need to focus on what your goal is. So for everyone listening, think about your goal for the next 12 months. What really is it? But then we have to do what very few people talk about, which is what happens after you set a goal. And that's what I call your head trash, which is what we open the show talking about. So I'm happy to dive in there if you like.
Yeah, let's dig right into that, because I mean, if I'm on the right path here, and if not, please reel me back in, right? But like there is so much, and I look at the anxiety culture that we have today, where people just fill their minds with things that frankly they have no control over, right? I used to have a sales guy named David, and I love David to death. He's still one of my favorite human beings in the whole wide world. But he would come into my office, and he was one of my lead SDRs, and he'd just be, like Jason didn't qualify my lead fast enough, like so I don't think the appointment's going to happen. I was like, hey, did you set a great appointment? He's like, yeah, it's 150 phones, like penetration testing opportunity. It's gonna be great. And I'm like, okay, hold on. I was like, is it qualified? He was, yeah, it's qualified. I'm like, okay, great. Next step established. Yeah. Okay, great. It's like, so you did your job great. I'll handle the rest, bud. I was like, you control what you can control. Don't stress over the things that are completely out of your purview. So at least when I hear get rid of the brain junk, that's what I'm thinking of, Dr. Noah. Am I on the right path or?
Well, partly. And so what I want everyone listening to this program to do is think about your goals for the next 12 months. Now, we've heard this a million times. You got to set your goals. And that is true. We humans are goal-oriented organisms. We're always thinking about what it is that we want. We're constantly doing that, whether it's a new house, a new car, a promotion at work, to start our business, grow our business, sell our business, or even have a ham sandwich for lunch, right? We're always thinking about what we want. And so it is true, you have to think about that and really focus on your goals. But here's what most people don't realize, and that is what happens after you set a goal is far more important than what the goal actually is. Let me give you an example. So I was talking with a client of mine. His name's Charles. And I asked him a question that I ask all of my coaching clients, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching. We have a group coaching program called the 12-Week Breakthrough, where I help people make more in 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months while winning their lives back. But I ask everybody one question, and that is, how much do you think your head trash is going to cost you over the next 12 months? In other words, if we don't take out this belief that says you can't do it, how much do you think that's costing you? And he said, without batting an eye, $1 million. He said, Noah, because now he'd been reading my books, he'd been watching my videos on YouTube. So he understood that my philosophy, he understood what makes me different from all the other coaches out there that just say, just hustle and grind and work hard and set your goals and visualize it. Okay, that's not wrong, but it's not the whole picture by any stretch. So he understood this. So he said $1 million. I said, in other words, if I don't do this, Noah, it's going to cost me $1 million. So I said, this is very common. I talk to people every day who say it's going to cost me $1 million if I don't take out my head trash in the way that you teach, Noah. And so I said, why don't you just give me 10% of that million and I'll find you $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a good deal. Now, he'd been watching my videos. He saw, the hundreds and hundreds of case studies that I have over the last 30 years, helping people make $3 billion. So he understood that this works, right? So anyway, he invested that $100K to get one-on-one coaching with me. Now, as it turns out, I coached him for a year. As it turns out, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him 1.8 million in just 10 months. So he gave me $1 and I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? No, that's a great deal. And he even emailed me and he said, hey, Noah, guess where I am? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. This is a dream I've had for 20 years, he said. We just bought a new RV. We've always dreamed about this, taking an RV, driving around the country. But he said, I never had the time or the money before. He said, now because of coaching with you, I have more time, more money than ever before. So he literally said, thank you, Noah, for changing my life. So what is the moral of the story? For everyone listening, think about what is your head trash costing you. In other words, if you say, hey, I really have this goal. I want to go from 10K a month to 100K or 100K to 500 or 500 to $1 million, whatever your goal is, the number doesn't really matter. But wherever your number is, I want you to realize that you've probably been stuck there for a while. In other words, people say, well, I've been in business for 10 years. No, you haven't. You've lived the same year 10 times. Right? It's not that you're learning. Most people are just stuck doing the same thing over and over. How do we get out of that? A big part of that is, number one, understanding your head trash. Number two, understanding what it's costing you. And then we have to take these specific steps to get rid of your head trash so you can stop stopping yourself from the level of success you're perfectly capable of.
Good stuff. Well, Dr. Noah, I know we're getting close here to the end of our episode, and I just want to really quickly, reiterate the importance of setting goals but following through, right? Like I think back to my weight loss journey and how I personally would just get so discouraged and just like, it's like, oh my gosh, I had this goal. It's a huge goal. It just feels like I'm never getting anywhere. But then when you set those little steps from one milestone to the next, whether that's, month to month, or if you're in the business space, quarter to quarter, right? And then you do the little things every single day and you're consistent, right? Like I would teach this to my SDRs. Doesn't matter if it's a Monday, in the morning or a Thursday in the afternoon, you're doing the dials, right? You're doing the outbound, you're doing the research. Do those little things every single day, because those little things will turn into big things, right? And it's the consistency. And then you can look back and you can actually start to say, okay, what are we getting for results, right? What have we actually tangibly built based on what these little action items have actually, been built together towards our goals? And you can effectively decide one way or the other. Okay, are we going to go forward, with what we've been doing? Or are we going to change things up? So I love this approach. Now, how about this? For final thoughts, I want you to bring us home. What would you like the audience going to take away from looking at getting rid of head trash, putting this into practice? I guess that's the number one thing. It's one thing to think about it in theory. It's another thing to actually start to look at this and say, okay, let's actually start doing this. What would you say are the best next steps there?
We do have a free resource available. It's my book called Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money. And the book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. And it is at sendmeabooknoah.com. It's easy to remember. Sendmeabooknoah.com. And I will send you a book. Just cover the shipping. Again, the book is called Get Rid of Your Head Trash About Money. You can find that at noahstjohn.com or sendmeabooknoah.com. But one of the things you can do right now, everyone listening, whether you get the book or not, number one, write down how much is your head trash costing you right now. In other words, if you have that voice in your head that says, I want to do this, but I can't do it. Okay, what is that going to cost you? And number two, how long are you going to listen to that guy? How long are you going to listen to that bully in your head? That's what I call it. I call it a bully in your head. It's the bully that says, you can't do it. You're dumb. You're stupid. You're not good enough. Wait a minute. I want you to punch that bully in the face, because that bully has been taking your lunch money for far too long. I want you to punch him in the face and say, wait a minute, this is my life. This is what I get to do. And this is what I decide to do. So we have tons of resources for you, but whatever you do, stand up to that bully in your head, because you have much more power than you think.
There we go. Dr. Noah St. John, I really appreciate you joining us here on the Brian Nichols Show, folks. If you got some value, please go ahead and do me a favor, give it a share. And when you do, tag yours truly at @BNicholsLiberty on X, on Facebook, and on Instagram. As for where you can find the show, you guys go to BrianNicholsShow.com. All the links are there, podcast, video links, and all that and more. And also you can find our phenomenal sponsors there over at BrianNicholsShow.com as well. With that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Dr. Noah St. John. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.
You're trying to stay sharp, whether it's for work, learning, or just not forgetting where you left your keys. Been there. But lately, the mental fog hits hard. And brain fog isn't just stress. It's often tied to poor blood flow and low nitric oxide levels, because your brain needs oxygen just as much as your other muscles do. Because without it, you're slower to process, less focused, and more fatigued. And that's one of the many reasons why I trust Cardio Miracle. Not only does it boost nitric oxide for heart and circulation, it supports cognitive clarity, focus, and even mood regulation thanks to its unique blend of L-arginine, CoQ10, vitamin D3, and antioxidant-rich superfoods. So if you're tired of feeling mentally cloudy, give your brain what it's craving. Click the link in the show notes, scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS, which will give you 15% off your order. Just look for the little note on the website saying you're shopping with Brian Nichols. One more time, that's cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. And now, let's get back to the show.